People often believe that the smallest acts of kindness disappear unnoticed, but sometimes a single quiet gesture sets off a chain of events no one could ever predict. This is the story of a young waitress who thought she was simply helping a tired old man, and the moment she realized that one simple decision was about to change her life forever, the diner was nearly empty that afternoon. Kind of slow shift that makes every minute feel longer than the last. Rain tapped softly against the windows, and the faint smell of coffee and warm bread hung in the air. Maya moved between tables, wiping counters and refilling sugar jars, trying to keep busy. She had worked double shifts all week, and exhaustion pressed on her shoulders, but she kept smiling. She always did. She worked double shifts all week. Just what you fooey. Sup customers remembered kindness, she used to tell herself, even when tips were small. Bell above the door rang quietly, and an older man stepped inside. His coat was worn, his shoes scuffed, and he moved with the slow, careful steps of someone who carried years of heavy memories. He looked around before choosing a small table near the window. Some of the staff barely glanced at him, assuming he wouldn't order much, maybe just a cup of coffee to warm up. Maya walked over with a menu and greeted him the same way she greeted everyone else. De forfert to cement, the calm voice and genuine warmth. The man looked up, a little surprised, as if he wasn't used to being spoken to that way. He ordered a simple coffee, nothing more, and thanked her quietly as she poured his drink. Maya noticed his hands. Stott Moore's. They were rough, marked with scars and faint tremors, the kind of hands that had seen hard work, be even harder days. When she returned a few minutes later, she saw him carefully counting coins on the table, his brow slightly furrowed. He seemed worried, as if he wasn't sure he had enough. Something in her chest tightened. Had seen that look before. Without saying anything, she picked up the bill from the counter and paid it herself. It wasn't much, just a few dollars, but to her it meant skipping a meal later or stretching her budget a little thinner. Still, she didn't hesitate. When she brought the receipt to the table, she set it down gently and said, "It's taken care of today. Don't worry about it." The man looked at her, confusion crossing his face first, then disbelief. "Why would you do that?" he asked quietly. Maya shrugged, offering a small smile. "Because everyone needs a little help sometimes." For a moment, he didn't speak. His eyes softened, and there was something in them that looked almost like relief, or maybe gratitude so deep it was hard to put into words. He simply nodded and sipped his coffee in silence, gazing out at the rain. The rest of the shift passed slowly. Maya didn't think much about what she had done. To her, it was just another small act in a long day, one that would probably be forgotten by tomorrow. When the man finally stood to leave, he paused by the counter. "Kornkankel. Thank you," he said again, steady but sincere. "You've reminded me of something important today." She smiled, wishing him well, and watched as he stepped back into the rain and disappeared down the street. That evening, as Maya finished closing duties, her manager approached her with an unusual expression. "There's someone here asking for you," he said. She frowned slightly. At that hour, it was rare for anyone to come back. Walking toward the front, she noticed a sleek black car parked outside, its polished surface reflecting the streetlights. A man in a tailored suit stood near the entrance, looking around the diner with calm patience. "Maya?" he asked when he saw her. "Yes," she replied, unsure what this was about. "The gentleman who was here earlier asked me to give you this," he said, handing her a sealed envelope. Her heart beat a little faster as she took it. Inside was a short handwritten note. Read, "Kindness is never small. Tomorrow I would like to repay yours. Please meet me at this address at sar.a.m." Below the message was an address she didn't recognize, written in careful script. Maya looked up, but the man in the suit was already walking back to the car. Within seconds, the vehicle pulled away, leaving her standing under the dim diner lights, holding the note in her hand, her mind racing with questions. She had no idea who the old man really was, and she had no idea that by this time tomorrow, she would be standing in a place she had only ever seen in magazines, about to learn a truth that would leave her speechless. All night sleep came in short, restless waves. The note sat on the small table beside Maya's bed, the unfamiliar address seeming to pull her thoughts back to it again and again. Part of her wondered if it was some kind of mistake. Another part felt a quiet curiosity she couldn't ignore. Verstarfirschen Palach in the Korshings. By morning, she decided she would go, if only to understand why a stranger would go to such lengths over something as small as a cup of coffee. The address led her to a part of the city she rarely visited. The buildings there were tall, polished, and quiet in a way that felt different from the noise of downtown. People moved with purpose, dressed in neat suits, speaking into phones as they hurried through glass doors. Maya stood on the sidewalk for a moment, checking the note again to be sure she had the right place. She did. The building in front of her rose high above the street, its windows reflecting the bright morning sky. Taking a slow breath, she stepped inside. The lobby was larger than any space she had ever walked into, with marble floors that echoed softly under her shoes and a reception desk made of dark polished wood. A receptionist greeted her politely and asked her name. When Maya answered, answered. The woman's expression changed slightly, as if she had been expecting her. She picked up the phone, spoke quietly for a moment, then smiled. "Please take the elevator to the top floor," she said. "Someone will meet you there." Maya's heart beat faster as the elevator doors closed. Watching the numbers rise, she felt a mix of nervousness and disbelief. None of this made sense. Why would the old man she had helped be connected to a place like this? When the doors opened, she stepped into a quiet hallway lined with large windows. A man in a suit approached and greeted her warmly, but spare a fact, guiding her to a spacious office at the end of the corridor. The door opened, and she stopped in her tracks. The old man was sitting behind a large desk, dressed neatly now, his worn coat gone, replaced by a tailored jacket. Transformation was striking, yet his calm eyes were the same. "Maya," he said, standing to greet her. "I'm glad you came." She stared at him for a moment, trying to find the right words. "I didn't realize." He smiled gently. "That I own this company," he finished for her. "Most people don't." He motioned for her to sit, and she did, still trying to process what she was seeing. The office was elegant but not flashy, filled with books, photographs, and quiet details that spoke of years of experience rather than simple wealth. "I owe you an explanation," he said. "For the past few years, I've been stepping away from my usual work to travel and observe people. Not in grand places or formal meetings, but in everyday situations. I've learned that character shows itself most clearly in small moments." Maya listened, unsure what to say. "When I sat in that diner," he continued, "I wasn't looking for help. I was looking for proof that kindness still exists without expectation, and you gave it freely. Live frop high price brie." She shook her head slightly. "When it was just a coffee different." She shook her head slightly. "Right, it was just coffee." He leaned forward, his expression serious but kind. "To you, perhaps, but to me, it was something far greater. It reminded me of the values that matter most, the ones that can't be measured in numbers or profits." He reached into a folder on the desk and slid a document toward her. Her eyes widened as she read. It was an offer to sponsor her education, covering tuition, books, and living expenses until she completed her business degree. There was also an invitation to intern at one of his companies, earning skills that could lead to a permanent position. Maya looked up stunned. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because the world invests in talent every day," he said calmly. "But I believe it should also invest in character." For a moment, she couldn't speak. The opportunity in front of her felt unreal, like something meant for someone else. She thought about the long shifts at the diner, the nights worrying about bills, dreams she had quietly set aside because they felt too far out of reach. "This isn't charity," the old man added gently, as if sensing her hesitation. "It's an investment. I believe you will do something meaningful with it." Tears gathered in her eyes, though she quickly brushed them away. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion she couldn't fully contain. As she left the building later that morning, the city looked different. The same streets, the same noise, the same people moving in every direction. Yet everything felt lighter, as if the future had opened in front of her in a way she had never dared to imagine. She didn't yet realize was that this opportunity was only the beginning, and that the path ahead would challenge her in ways she had never expected, testing not only her determination but the very kindness that had brought her here in the first place. No one in the cafe expected what happened next. The room, once filled with the quiet clinking of cups, slowly fell silent as the elderly man stood up and looked directly at her, his expression calm but deeply sincere. He explained that he had spent months traveling from city to city, watching how people treated one another when they thought no one important was looking. Wealth, he said, had shown him many things, but kindness without expectation was the rarest of all. And in that small cafe on an ordinary morning, she had shown it without hesitation. The waitress felt overwhelmed, unsure how to respond. She hadn't paid for his coffee to be noticed or rewarded. Wow. To her, it was simply the right thing to do. But the man smiled and told her that actions like hers changed lives in ways people rarely understood. He revealed that he was opening a foundation to support workers struggling to make ends meet, and he wanted her to help lead it, someone who truly understood compassion, not just business. The cafe owner, the customers, even the staff listened in disbelief. What began as a quiet act of kindness had turned into a moment that would reshape not only her future, but the futures of many others she would one day help. As she looked around the room, she realized something important: kindness, even the smallest kind, never really disappears. It travels, it grows, and sometimes, when you least expect it, it comes back in ways greater than you ever imagined.